Climbers are a different breed of human. We attempt climbs that we know will push the limits. We live on the edge. When I first set my eyes on Mount Kaukau, I knew I would climb it. When I first set off, it kind of sunk in. Kaukau is big. It was going to be the hardest climb of my life. The first bridge I traversed was difficult. It was slippery underfoot and it was hard to keep a hold of anything. A steep climb then followed. It was intense. I was feeling pretty tired by this point, but I knew that I had to push on, otherwise I would end up stuck on the mountain overnight. The steep climb turned progressively more rocky. It became technically more challenging, but it put me more in my element. The climbing section went on for quite a while, and a couple of times I remember thinking perhaps I should be using gear, like ropes and things. After several hours of climbing, I reached what I knew to be the last of the road crossings. Luckily, I could use the bridge as the river was not too swollen. I stopped on the bridge for a short while to assess the river. I wasn't sure how quickly it would flood if there was heavy rain. Once I reached these steps, I knew that I had reached the main section of the climb. I was aware that I was a little behind schedule, but thought that I could probably make the time up. The steps went on for ages. It was made harder, I think, due to the size of the steps. Some of them were huge. The view of Wellington from here was pretty good, and the weather was holding off. It was looking pretty positive for me to reach the summit. On and on, climbing steps. I think the climbers who went before me and put the route in didn't think about the smaller climbers. Eventually, after what felt like about 12 hours, I saw the top of the steps section. I knew then that I was close to the final push. Just after the stairs section, I encountered my first real navigational difficulty. There were several routes that I could choose, and not all of them would lead to the summit. I knew that if I picked the wrong one, it could all be over, and the wind was playing havoc with my maps. Soon after I picked my route, I realised I had picked the right one when I arrived at the crux of the climb. The crux is usually the most technically challenging section of a climb, and this was it. Once I'd gotten up the Holdsworth step, as I decided to call it, I knew I would be able to push on for the summit. I was climbing up a pretty easy slope after the Holdsworth step, but I could feel the air getting thinner up there due to the altitude. I thought I could see what was probably the top of the mountain in the distance. Every step, every climb, every breath at this point was hurting me. I'd been climbing for nearly 9 hours now. Then disaster struck. I opened up my water bottle. It was empty. I'd saved most of my water for this point and it must have leaked out of my bottle. I was devastated. I remember thinking to myself that I had to push on quickly if I was going to finish the climb. Looking back, I can tell that I must already have been partially dehydrated. I pushed on as fast as I could. I had to get to the top. At 4 p.m. on the 28th of September 2011, I reached the summit of Mount Kaukau. I was 1 year, 1 month and 5 days old, and absolutely knackered. I will never forget how proud I was. I had just conquered Mount Kaukau.